I do not know the kind of people who raised you, but raising your hands against the powerless is no act of manliness. Shavish Jane. Welcome to this week's episode of Azaba with Christiana. This week we'll be talking about domestic violence, what domestic violence is, the types of domestic violence, and my opinions about how we could, stop this pandemic because it is a pandemic. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Azaba with Christiana. So Azaba is a Basangan word which means talk, and that is what we'll be doing on this channel. We'll be talking about a lot of things, a lot of issues. Stay back, enjoy the show. Thank you for joining in.
Hi guys, welcome to the second episode of Azaba with Christiana. I'm so excited to have you here. Today we'll be talking about domestic violence. So very quickly, what is domestic violence? Domestic violence is a violence that occurs to a person within a domestic setting. Now, what this means is domestic violence is that violence that happens within the family, within between siblings, partners. It's usually between when people want to explain, or want to give examples. It's always about between spouses or partners in a relationship. But it could also be a violence a child suffers from the hands of its parents, right? So domestic violence is that violence that occurs within a domestic setting. Now, in Nigeria, it is like a pandemic. Scratch that. It is a pandemic because it's everywhere. It's everywhere. A lot of women, and I am being very intentional when I say women. I know there are men, who suffer domestic violence, and I know that a lot of people, when we want to talk about domestic violence being suffered against women, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, men too." Yes, men suffer domestic violence, but on today's show, I am talking about women as victims of domestic violence. So, like I was saying earlier, it's everywhere. We in recent times we've been seeing a lot of stories, women coming out. Someone even died about 3 weeks ago or thereabout. Women coming out, with one big boil here, broken tooth, a swollen eye, and all of that. And it is everywhere. Okay, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and she was like, "Oh, is it that men are getting more violent?" And I said, "Not necessarily. Domestic violence has been an issue for as long as there has been relationships between two people in a marriage or in a relationship. It's just that now more people are open about talking about it, right? More people are open about sharing their stories. In the past, it was always about hush, hush, keep it quiet. Don't expose your family secrets. We do not wash our dirty linen, blah blah blah. But right now, a lot of women are no more. Everybody wants to be comfortable, yeah. Even women want to be comfortable. They're tired. We are tired of suffering and smiling and carrying the whole weight of the family, and that's why a lot of people are shouting and talking about it now. So yeah, it's a pandemic now, um, and we have to do something about it. Yes, we do have to. We have to be very intentional about you know stopping it. Okay, so very quickly, what are the types of domestic violence? Well, there's physical violence. That's the bastos, the knocks and the blows. There is emotional violence when they try to play on your emotions, gaslighting you and try to make you feel like you're not deserving of love. Everybody's deserving of love. Yeah. There's mental abuse. There's financial abuse. You see a lot of men who stop their wives or their women, so to speak, from being financially independent. They want these women to be dependent on them. The women want to buy a brazier. They have to collect money from their men. They want to buy Maggie because they're not doing anything. Or even when they are working, these men mandate them to bring the money to them. Mm-hmm. There are people like that. There are people who are in such a relationship where they have to submit whatever money. They go to hustle, they go to work very hard, and then they have to bring this money to these men. So that's a form of violence. It is financial violence. And some people would even want to argue that there's something known as religious violence. Very simply put, where a woman is forced to practice another religion or forced to belong to a sect of a religion that is different from what she would, you know, have wanted to practice or wanted to belong to. A very good example, you know how it is like an unwritten rule that when a woman marries, she automatically ports to the church. That's for Christians. She automatically ports into the church of her husband. Now, it doesn't matter that maybe this woman is very comfortable in, the church she worships in. It doesn't matter that her convictions, is in line, in tune with that church, the church where she worships. But because she's married to this man, she has to move herself. So that's a form of violence where the man makes it very mandatory, and probably threatens or blackmails her, to move to his own church. So yeah, some people would argue that there's something known as religious. I want to share some ways I feel like we could help this pandemic. Um, so the first way I feel like we could help is by providing more sanctions for perpetrators of abuse. Now, this is what I mean. In Nigeria, especially, you have a lot of men who perpetrate violence against their wives and partners because they know they will get away with it. In fact, you hear a lot of them saying, I will beat you and nothing will happen. It's not hidden that a lot of men have done these things and gotten away with it. Sometimes they even succeeded in killing their wives and killing their partners, and they got away with it. Or even if they didn't, they got away with just a slap on the wrist. And that's why it is like there's no end to this pandemic, because a lot of men are getting away with violence. So can we be more strict? Of course there are laws. There are laws. Like we have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, which provides against domestic violence. But how good are we with enforcing these laws? We have beautiful laws, beautiful provisions. But how fantastic are we at enforcing them? That's the problem. That's the problem. And our justice system is so slow. It is so slow, pathetically slow, that a lot of times it takes so long for a victim to access justice. And justice delayed is justice denied. So yes, we need to stop paying lip service to the issues of domestic violence, and we need to begin to enforce the sanctions. Now, this point is a two-way street, and this is what I mean. Aside the sanctions from the legal perspective, as individuals, as people of the community, as people of the society, how are we making sure that the people around us who are abusing their wives and partners stop? Are we talking about it? Are we so good at blaming the victim? Because it happens. You hear a woman comes to tell you a story about being beaten by her husband, and the next thing you hear people say is, what did you do? Madam, what did you do? That's usually the first thing. And it is so annoying because there is no excuse, no valid reason, none at all, none whatsoever for domestic violence. No valid reason at all. If you feel like a woman is being disrespectful, take a walk. If you feel like she is nagging, take a walk. If you feel like she is insultive and abusive, take a walk. Why beat her? Why? Why do you turn her into a punching bag? You know what I find very funny is that these men who beat their wives, They do not fight outside. If they see a man of their size, they don't fight. They do not fight. They walk away. That is just to show you that this domestic violence problem is a power problem. Because they know that they can control this woman. They know that she cannot defend herself. Oh, there are women who are strong. Perhaps the man tries to beat her once, and then she sits on him and gives him the beating of his life. He won't repeat it again. He won't. So yes, what are we doing as a society? If you have a brother who beats his wife, do you pat him on the back and say, brother, well done? Or do you tell him that I dislike what you're doing, and if you do not stop doing what you're doing, I will not view you as my brother? Do you have an employee, you know that he beats his wife? What have you done about it? Do you sit back and fold your hands and say, after all, it happens in the house. This is in the office. I am just going to face, my office as long as he gives me his best in the office. Do you do that? Or do you sanction him and say, if you do not stop beating your wife, you will bear so and so consequences? Consequences. People will only stop doing bad things when there are consequences. So as a society, we need to step up and give consequences for actions of perpetrators. The second way I feel like we can help to reduce the pandemic of domestic violence is to enlighten our law enforcement agents. Enough is enough of all these stories of a victim going to the police station and they are telling her that it's a family matter, madam, go house. Domestic violence is not a family matter. It is a crime. And it is not just a crime against this person, it is a crime against the state. Yes. And so I find it very awkward and very odd when a policewoman or a policeman will tell a victim that has come to get justice from you, you tell her that it is a family matter, go home and settle it. Really? So we need to do more. We need to enlighten our law enforcement agents. It is not a family matter. It is a crime, and it should be treated as such. Now, thirdly, as a person, how are you helping the victims of domestic violence that you know? Do you just sing the song "Live to Live"? It is everywhere. Everybody's singing it. Live to live, madam. Live to live. Before he kills you, go. Have you thought about it that perhaps this person does not have the facilities, this person does not have the resources to go? Yes. Forget even the financial aspect, because there are people who have left without anything, with just the clothes on their backs, and they were brave enough to leave. So forget the financial aspect. Have you also thought about whether this woman has the emotional strength, especially where she has suffered a lot of emotional abuse? This man has spoken down on her, called her worthless, dealt with her self-esteem. Perhaps she's in a place where she doesn't even feel like she's a person of value, and she's just waiting for it all to end. Now you come to that kind of person and say, live to live. Yeah, she living too. Especially people who suffer from Stockholm syndrome. She already sees her abuser as her savior. And then you come and tell her, live to live. No, you need to do more. We need to do more. It's not just about singing the song. And then because we are singing this song so much, we're not opening our eyes to the ways we can help. How can you help a woman who doesn't feel like she's strong enough to live? Feed her with enough esteem. Get her a therapist. Let her go through therapy. Pay for the therapy session if you have the money to. If it is finances that is stopping a woman from living, give her money. You expect a woman who probably suffered financial violence and does not have a dime to her name, probably has 2, 3 kids, and then maybe she comes from a family that is like the headquarters of domestic violence. They don't see it as anything. meaning that she cannot go home for the reason of that her husband is beating her. You go to that kind of home, and your mother will tell you, "Ah, but your father has been beating me. Did I go anywhere?" So this woman cannot go back home. Where do you want her to go to? And then you come and sing the Live to Live song without putting some money in her hands to help her settle down, or giving her accommodation, or promising to give her children scholarship to school. These are the things women think about. They're thinking about accommodation, they're thinking about feeding, thinking about medical help, thinking about schooling for her kids. A lot of women, if they are assured of these things, they will leave. Who wants to suffer? Like, you are in a place where they are beating you and you just choose to stay naturally? No. So when you sing that song in a way that you can actually, you're singing to help. So yes, let me just chip this in. In the description box down there, I'm going to put a list of organizations, non-profit organizations in Nigeria that can help. If you're a victim and you're watching this, those organizations can help. You come out of a violent marriage or violent relationship. Some of them have shelters, they can shelter you temporarily. Some of them give legal advice, give legal support, and all of that. So it will be in the what's it called? It will be in the description box. And then also, I should have said this from the beginning. Also in the description box, I'm going to put the link for you to be able to download the Violence Against Persons and Prohibition Act 2015. A lot of people remain in these situations because they do not know the law. They do not know that some of these things that happen are actually violence against them, like financial dependency. It's a crime. Oh. It is in that act. So I'm going to put it in the description box. Download it and go through it. So yes, do more than just sing the song. Take proactive measures, take steps to help. So number 4 and final way I feel like it could get better is by being intentional about raising our boys. If we do not do anything, if we do not begin to do anything now, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, I don't know how it's going to be like. If we do not intentionally begin to raise our boys in a way that, raise them to be good men, good husbands, good fathers, good brothers, good grandfathers, then I'm afraid. Because we spend so much time bringing up girls. You're raising a girl up to be good, to be a good wife, to be a good sister, to be a good mother, to be supportive. But we're not spending so much time to do the same for the boys. And that's why we have so many properly raised girls, women, who are married to monsters. Sorry to use that word, but that's it. So we have to become very intentional with raising our boys. Teach your boys that housework is not a woman's job. It is a life skill. Teach your boys that cooking is not a woman's job. It is a life skill. Teach them that their personal hygiene, taking care of themselves, washing their clothes is not a woman's job. Imagine seeing posts where a boyfriend is complaining that my girlfriend came to the house and she could not clean up, she could not wash my clothes, and not even your wife. Teach these boys that these are things you should do for yourself to preserve your dignity as a human being. Teach these boys to be able to express their emotions. You have a lot of men who cannot express their emotions. They are locked up because right from very little, you tell them you're a man. Men don't cry. And so they have a lot of emotions on the inside of them. They cannot bring out. The only way they can express it is to give a punch. So teach our boys to do better, to be better humans. Can we do that? So that 10, 15 years, 20 years from now, this pandemic is no longer a problem. These are my thoughts. I wasn't going to make a very long video, but somehow it has happened. If you have watched up to this point, thank you for sticking with me. So kindly like, share, subscribe. And I would also want to hear your thoughts. So please leave your comments. If you want to send me an email, maybe you want to share something personal, private, you could send to my email. Thank you for sticking with me up to the end. Episode 2 done and dusted. Thank you for being here. So I'll see you guys again next week. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and do not forget to subscribe. Please. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.